Bună ziua, bun găsit la Impact Internațional, sunt Cristi Gava, o ediție cu totul și cu totul specială. Astăzi, alături de excelența sa, ambasadorul Israelului în România, domnul Ruven Azar. Good evening, Mr. Ambassador, and I'm very happy to be with you today.
Thank you, Christian, for the invitation.
Israel now is in a war defending the free civilization, defending the free world after the savage attacks from October. How do you see now the fate of this war against terror and against Hamas?
Well, as you know, Christian, our government has set very clear goals for this war as a result of this atrocious attack that is completely unprecedented by Hamas, which targeted innocent women, children, and did terrible crimes of burning people alive, killing civilians indiscriminately. This is something that, as you said, is an attack on civilization. And therefore the government set very clear goals to eradicate the military capabilities of Hamas and to bring back all our hostages and prevent the rearming and regrouping of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. So this is not a simple task, because Hamas has been entrenching in the Gaza Strip since they took over violently the Strip about 17 years ago, and we are now tackling all that infrastructure. So it comes with a huge military effort and also price. Many of our soldiers are being wounded and killed in this war, and it's a very difficult task, because the infrastructure that Hamas has built in the Gaza Strip is really unique in the sense that they have built it under hospitals, under schools. For years they have been digging tunnels. They have gathered huge quantities of armaments, large chunk of that coming from Iran, and we have to go house by house, tunnel by tunnel, neighborhood by neighborhood to clear out all this infrastructure. So this is taking time. And as we said at the beginning, this is going to take several months, but the Israeli people and of course our defense forces are completely resolute to do it, because we cannot bring back, yes. Not only that we cannot accept the fact that they attacked us, but we cannot give back the sense of security to our people unless we completely remove this threat.
They killed innocent people. It was not a military attack, it was a terrorist attack, yeah, without precedent in the civilized world against Israeli people after the Holocaust and after the Second World War. How do you see now the public feeling in Israeli society?
Well, the initial feeling in Israel was a feeling of anger and disappointment. The basic contract between the state and the civilians was breached, because yes, nobody expects that the terrorist will come to your house, to your bedroom, and take you out of under your bed to take you hostage.
And creating atrocities.
Yes, so this is something that a sense of security that we have to restore. It won't be easy, but we are determined. We are going to build back our communities, because, look, it's very clear that what Hamas wants to do, they not only committed these crimes, they boasted about it.
Yes.
Because they wanted to create a feeling, a sense of terror within the Israeli society, so Israelis leave Israel. This is what they want to achieve, and they have actually, after the attacks, they have interviewed and expressed this publicly, that this is what they want to do. They are going to attack us again and again. So this is why we don't have any choice but to remove this threat completely. Because these atrocities are just the beginning of what they want to do. And they don't care about the price. They don't care about their own population. So we are the ones that are, trying to get Palestinians that are not involved out of the way. They use civilians
like weapons.
Yes, yes. So it's very clear that the sense in Israel is that although we are angry and we are disappointed, we have to take care of this. So, for example, when the army recruited 300,000 people, asked them to come to the army, you know how many showed up?
No.
350,000.
Great.
Like even people that weren't called. They reported to their former units after they already retired from service. This is how motivated the Israeli people are to remove Hamas. So we are determined. We are not going to be, stopped by anybody. We are going to do it the right way. We are not going to adopt this, modus operandi of the terrorists, but we are going to do it because we don't have any choice. And Israel is in pain, but it has a lot of internal power. And you have to see the spirit of volunteering that doesn't deal only with the army. We are here in a situation in which hundreds and thousands of organizations and private initiatives have popped up to deal with things that are, help to the families of those who are hostage, help to the families of the deceased and the people that were murdered, help to the farmers that have been hit in the south, volunteering, cooking for soldiers, supplies, even taking people from one place to another. There are organizations that are already, so the entire Israeli society is really charged with this feeling of solidarity, of trying to help, and this is a very difficult moment, but also a very fine moment for the society in Israel.
How do you see Iran involvement of Iran in supporting Hamas and terrorist group in Middle East?
So it's very clear that Iran is standing behind all these organizations because Iran has been indoctrinating them, they have been helping them financially, they have been training them militarily, and now they are trying to back Hamas in different ways. First of all, by getting Hezbollah to operate against Israel in the northern front, and also making use of the Houthis in Yemen to disturb shipping towards Israel in international shipping. Now this is a real danger that we have because we cannot be in a situation that a terrorist organization actually undermines international trade. And I think that we are finally having support from different powers in the world that are also concerned in this regard. The Iranians also have been pushing militias, Shiite militias in Iraq to attack American forces. So they are trying to create a sense that Israel is encircled, that the days of Israel are limited, that Israel, actually the leaders of Iran not only have supported this terrible and atrocious attack, they have been also declaring that actually there is a date by which Israel will disappear, which is a complete nonsense. Okay, Israel doesn't have any intention of disappearing. We are going to defeat Hamas. We are going to defeat our enemies. But it is very clear that Iran is playing a very, very negative role, and even those in the Arab world that are criticizing now us because what is happening in the Gaza Strip and the great price that the civilian population unfortunately is paying because of the conduct of Hamas, even they want us to defeat Hamas completely because they understand that if Israel doesn't defeat Hamas, the Iranians will use these proxies in order to attack them. So we are actually quite aligned with many countries that are opposing Iran, are opposing this kind of behavior that is completely unacceptable, and we are determined to cooperate with our allies to counter Iran effectively.
Some scholars told public that this war is not only a war between Israel and the terrorist group of Hamas, but that these terrorist attacks were part of the illiberal war against the free world and against the liberal order established 30 years ago. Israel was not only a great culture, a major cultural power, but also a pillar of democracy and freedom in the middle of dictatorships and authoritarian regimes. How do you see this landscape in Middle East now?
Well, what I see here is that there are forces, Islamic extremist forces, that want to completely clear the Middle East from Western powers, and they look at Israel as a Western power, okay? And also to do that in order to impose their rule over the other Arab regimes that are not radical, okay? So they see that the West is supporting the pragmatic regimes in the region, and they know that in order to win in this war between the different forces in the region, they have to get rid of Israel in the West. And this way they will be able to be completely hegemonic and impose the radical ideology on the entire region, with the view of using that in order also to fight the West in a more effective way, okay? So the fact that Israel is here in the middle of the Middle East is actually interrupting their plan. And that's why they are very concentrated in trying to remove Israel, because as long as Israel is here, it will be very difficult for them to implement their plans to completely change the landscape of this region and of the world. And that's completely coincides what you were asking. Sometimes people don't make the connection, but the connection is very clear.
Yes. How do you see the rise of something very bad, the anti-Semitic feeling in some parts of the world? In the 20th century, we had the Shoah, one of the biggest disasters in the modern world for our Western civilization. How do you see now this big danger, the rising of anti-Semitic feeling, sponsored by Hamas and extreme propaganda?
It's very clear that anti-Semitism is changing its shape. In what sense? One sense is negative, but one sense actually is positive. And I'll tell you what is the positive. First of all, on the negative side, yes, we are seeing forces of radical Islam actually cooperating with anti-Semites in the West and creating this narrative as if Israel is an illegitimate country.
Yes.
How they are doing it? They are denying the right of self-determination of the Jewish people. All the peoples in the world, they have a right of self-determination. Only the Jewish people shouldn't have the right of self-determination. In this context, this is anti-Semitic. So you cannot apply one standard on one people and another standard on another people. So those who are calling us colonizers, okay, also in the left, they are basically supporting this radical narrative.
Yes.
And that's why it's anti-Semitic. It's very worrying. You have it in different parts of the West, in universities. We have to counter it. But I'll tell you what is the difference and what is positive. In comparison, what happened in the Second World War, Israel now can defend itself.
Yes.
We can defend ourselves. We are not helpless. So yes, we should fight anti-Semitism, but the first thing what we should do is to strengthen our country, because Israel has become the heart of the Jewish people.
Yes.
The only place in the world in which the Jewish people is growing, rapidly growing. You know that in Israel we have a natural growth of 2% per year.
It's great.
We are the highest growing state in the OECD. Okay? By 2048, we're going to be 17 million in Israel. That means that the Jewish people that have returned to the state of Israel, they are happy about it. I don't know if you saw, only 2 days ago, it was published that the Israelis are the fourth happiest people in the world. How can you explain that? We are in the middle of a war. So probably this
internal force.
These statistics was gathered before the war, okay? Maybe people now are feeling much worse. But the sense that we have, that we are in our land, that we are free as a people, we are free to innovate, we are free to choose our way in life, we are free to establish our businesses. We are a free people in a democratic country, and we feel good about it. So yes, we are worried about anti-Semitism, but we can defend ourselves, and we can be happy, and we will prosper. So this war is a very unfortunate war that was actually we didn't ask for. we were attacked.
It's a war for freedom.
But this is a war for freedom. And we are celebrating, as you know, we just celebrated this week the Feast of Hanukkah.
Yes, and happy Hanukkah. Yes.
Thank you. The Hanukkah actually celebrates freedom because it was the first recorded religious freedom war in the history of humankind. It was the first time recorded that another civilization tried to erase not only the sovereignty of the Jewish people in the land of Israel, but they tried to erase monotheism.
Yes.
And the fact that we have managed to prevent that and we preserved our civilization for all these thousands of years, for millennia, did not only allowed us to continue this quest to be free, but actually it was an example of human rights, of the fact that every nation and every people have a place under the sun. We actually gave this opportunity to the Palestinians as well. Instead of using this opportunity to create their own state, they are concentrated in trying to destroy our state. And this is the reason we don't have peace. But this is not going to deter us from continuing to be a free people, a free nation. And if we have to fight about, if you have to fight for it, so we will do.
How can we do more, even in Romania, in the field of telling people about the Jewish tragedy and about what's happened in the middle of 20th century? How can we promote the right values? Mm-hmm. Because it's a major danger to human civilization, forgiveness now, and we have to prevent this field, to prevent this thing, and it's very important for all people, for all Romanians and for all Europeans to know about the big Jewish tragedy, which it was a human tragedy and a tragedy of Western world.
Well, I think that the government of Romania is doing a lot of good
yes.
things and has the right policy when it comes to Holocaust remembrance. There is a special function,
yes,
both in the Prime Minister's office and also in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that are dealing with this. This year, for the first time, there is implementation of a law to educate about the Holocaust in schools. We are working together with other agencies to make sure that the Holocaust Museum will actually be erected finally in Bucharest. We've been working about this with the government. There are budgets from the EU for it, and I hope that the program of building museum will be approved soon, and we will see it here. The fact that the Romanian government and the Romanian people support democracy, support freedom, this is part of the scheme or of the world that we want to see shaping in the future. We are working with Romania on many things of common concern,
yes,
including in the innovation field. Romania has a very vibrant innovation sector. And,
IT, yes.
Yes, IT and cyber and fintech, and there are a lot of positive forces in Romania. We are working on many fields, in academy, in entrepreneurship, in renewable energy. The positive forces in Romania, the entrepreneurship is really remarkable. I'm very proud to serve here in Romania and to continue working on the bilateral relations that are very robust.
How do you see the state now of the hostages and the efforts for freedom regarding hostages?
So we are pretty sure that what Hamas wants to do is not it's not like in the movies that people that delinquents or criminals take hostage in order to negotiate. This is not what they want to do. They took these hostages to terrorize us, to defeat us. And without us putting a lot of military pressure on them, they wouldn't have released 80 hostages so far. So we are in a situation in which, thanks to the efforts, the military efforts, the pressure that we put, and of course the assistance of the United States in the negotiations, we have managed to recover 80 hostages. many of them women and children, and we still have left about 130. We are concerned from their situation. Hamas, as you know, hasn't agreed and hasn't respected the agreement to allow the Red Cross to visit them, so we don't know much about them. But we are determined to continue to put military pressure until Hamas will agree to release all the hostages. So we won't stop until the last hostage comes back to Israel. This is our responsibility as a country, as a nation, to our people, and we won't surrender to this terror of Hamas.
Israel had in the last years an economic boom and strong economic growth, being one of the most innovative economies in the world, not only in the Middle East, but in the world. How do you see the future of economy, of Israeli economy?
Well, I'm very optimistic, and I'll tell you why. First of all, because this trend of innovation hasn't stopped, even during the war. And although the numbers, also as a result of the global crisis that we're seeing now, there is less investment in innovation, but even during the war we are seeing continuation of some investment. Israel still has about 88 unicorns. So these are companies, growing startups that actually their market value is more than $1 billion. This is we are actually the one of the leading ecosystems of innovation in the world after Silicon Valley and New York. We are even now during the war, our economy is continuing to function. Our ports are operating, our airport is operating. Foreign companies have started to fly to Ben Gurion again. Our factories are dealing with the situation despite the fact that we have, as I said, 300,000 people recruited. Our factories are operating, our economy is operating, and I'm sure that after the war, and thanks to the economic boost that now the government is giving to the private sector, the rates of growth are going to be exponential. Because, as I said, we have the energy. We want to live, we want to thrive, we want to innovate, and we have the freedom to do that. So I'm sure that the numbers will go up immediately after the war.
It is very difficult for us to understand how difficult it is to be threatened, to have existential threats like nation. From the founding of the Israeli state, it was a huge war and a long war against terror and against enemies. How can you describe this force of Israeli nation?
Well, you know, when you are cornered in such a way, and you know that you don't have anywhere else to go, so you will fight. And Israel is not a country that only concentrates in fighting. We want to create a decent life for our people. So we have been taking care of the situation between the wars. And one of the things that our enemies want to do, especially the Iranians, is to have a constant war of attrition in order to try to put us in a situation in which we cannot concentrate in developing our country. But we are not going to allow that. And that's why, you know, after many years in which we tried very hard not to go back to the Gaza Strip, we really don't want to control the Palestinian people. But at the end of the day, if these attacks from Gaza continue every couple of months and also take the shape, the terrible shape that it took in the last October 7th, we don't have any choice. So we will have to remove the threat completely to create stability in the south of the country for the long term. And this will also be the message for other proxies of Iran that have the intention to attack us. They have to think very well whether they want to do that, because they will pay a very dear price. So right now we are concentrating in trying not to escalate this into a regional war, and therefore we've been very, very prudent when it comes to retaliating on attacks from other fronts, because we want to concentrate in removing the Hamas threat. But I think that this operation that we are doing now, this war we are doing in the Gaza Strip, is going to be a very strong signal to the others to leave us alone, to let us live. Israel, the only thing that Israel wants to do is to live in this, unlike Iran, unlike other radicals that want to take over the entire region. Israel is concentrated in trying to create freedom for our people. We have given the chance to the Palestinians to be free. Unfortunately, they have abused our goodwill. And now we're going to have to verify that this radicalism is eradicated from Palestinian society. We are looking for partners for that. I'm not sure we're going to have partners, but I hope that we will be able to convince our partners in the West that if really they want to be constructive, there are certain basic things that have to change when it comes to their assistance to the Palestinian people.
And America and Biden administration responded very clear and very pro-Israeli and pro-freedom.
And President Biden has said not only that he has backed Israel and has sent forces to the region, but he has said that yes, if we want to have a two-state solution in the future, that's what he said, it will have to be a revitalized Palestinian Authority. So he expects also from the Palestinians to change some basic things about their conduct when it comes to supporting and eulogizing terrorists, when it comes to giving financial support to terrorists, when it comes to the education system. We have to verify that in Gaza we will have a process of de-radicalization.
Yes.
This will be very hard to achieve. It's
like denazification in other countries, which experienced.
So it's very hard to achieve, because unlike the situation in Europe, in which the United States actually managed to free at least most Western European countries and create a safe environment, here we're talking of a very little part of the Middle East. We still have a lot of parts of the Middle East. We don't have any intention to conquer the Middle East. We are talking about Israel only. But we have a huge problem in the Middle East with radical content, with satellite TVs that are preaching against the West, against Western values. They are having this militant Islamic ideology, and this information, this propaganda is being disseminated, all over the world, also among Muslim minorities in Europe and in other places. This is something that we have to deal with. We cannot shut our eyes anymore, because we understand that this kind of indoctrination, at the end of the day, it expresses itself in a violent form. So if we want to keep our society safe, and I know that Romania is doing a great job in this regard.
Yes.
But other countries should be as efficient as Romania. And if they do, they will be safe. And if they don't, unfortunately, they are going to suffer the consequences. And so this is a time for us to have collective action against radicalism, against Iran, against the forces that are threatening us. We cannot stand idle, and we have to be more involved. There are many things that we can do, and some of these things are being now started to being discussed in Europe. Only 2 days ago there was a meeting in France about sanctions, and we are going to against Iran and against Hamas, and we have to go ahead and execute those plans that we have to work on meticulously with our partners.
Please tell us something about cultural projects of embassy. We talked about the economy. Israeli culture is one of the major cultures in the world. How can we promote more and more Israeli culture in Romania? I have some favorite Israeli writers: Hannah Arendt, Amos Oz, Aharon Appelfeld, Isaac Bashevis Singer, and many others. How can we promote more?
I don't consider Israel to be one of the major cultural forces in the world, but it's substantial, and we have actually Romania has very rich culture, and we have a lot of cooperation in the cultural field when it comes to theater, when it comes to books, when it comes to art in general. Only less than about a month ago, we brought here to Romania a very special theater that employs blind actors.
Great project.
It's the only
great project.
Theater in the world actually that does that. We want to open such a theater here in Romania, so they came to perform here in the Jewish National Theater, and which, by the way, is a great thing. Romania is the only country in the world that has a Jewish National Theater.
Yes.
So this event actually was accompanied by sessions that they did with NGOs, with the general public, to talk about the inclusion of people with disabilities in the arts, in theater. We had this year many Israeli groups that came to the CBU Theater Festival, to the UNESCO Festival. We had the Philharmonic. So we are going to continue working on that. And really, I want to thank you very much for this question, because it's very important, and also for this interview.
I thank you a lot, Mr. Ambassador, and I wish you all best for Winterfest.
Thank you.
In Romania.
De Crăciun fericit.
I thank you a lot for being with us today at this interview. Sunt Cristi Gava, într-o ediție specială. Astăzi l-am avut alături de noi pe excelența sa, domnul ambasador Ruven Azar, ambasadorul Israelului în România. Rămâneți alături de Prima până sâmbătă viitoare. O zi liniștită. La revedere!
Program disponibil pe primaplay.ro.